And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the deck. Thank you to everybody for joining us once again. And special kudos and happy birthday to Mavrosa. Thank you for celebrating your birthday with us today. Thank you to everybody for being on the chat already, for starting asking questions, and to everybody who asking questions on Discord, on Reddit. We have quite a lot to talk about today. We released a new letter from producer yesterday on the website, so if you haven't read it, go ahead, have a look. See if there's anything you want to ask more questions about, because today that's the opportunity for us to talk about this a little bit more. To talk about all the topics we have to discuss today, I brought another guest today. Some of you might know who he is already because he was here last time. Gabriel, how are you doing today?
Hello. Good. And today I think I'm now probably representing the DMC to your company, Royale.
Yes. Blue jeans, orange shirt. That's how it works.
Exactly.
So yeah, like I said, and like the theme of the day really indicates, we are here mostly to talk about Faction Wars and to talk about the content of the letter from producer, but also try to answer as many questions as we can from the chat, from the questions we gathered from Reddit and Discord. So bear with us. We'll try to go through as many questions as possible. Whatever we can't answer today due to time or because maybe we don't have all the information, we'll try to answer after the stream through Reddit, through Discord, through the comments, through the replies as much as we can. So before we start, we also want to introduce Mr. Siddharth, who once again is in the background, playing the game for us, watching himself play, making sure he's doing it properly. How are you doing, Siddharth?
Making the mother weep.
Yes. One day, Siddharth, will get you a microphone and a proper camera so you can participate in the stream with us, okay? All right, so to put context for today, we also want to talk a little bit about what has happened since the last time we were live. So last time we were live, we published a letter from producer with not so good news, because we really basically wanted to take more time to work on Faction Wars, and we decided to postpone the release of Faction Wars for our mid-season update to a date where we feel more comfortable the Faction Wars is on better state. So today we're very happy to say that that time is finally coming. Do you want to tell us more about how we feel about Faction Wars today?
Yeah, I think Faction Wars is definitely in a much better state today. And thanks to a lot of your feedback from the past Insider programs, they've really helped to kind of shape the current iteration. And, you know, really, again, to reiterate on, we really want to put quality first, and then this would allow Faction Wars to be the foundation for it to evolve, continue to evolve in future seasons.
Yes, I think foundation is really the key word we want to really insist on. This is the first iteration of Faction Wars, but our plan is to continue building on it over the next seasons, right?
Exactly.
Great. So before we jump into all the stuff we want to talk about today, we have a very short video that we want to play for you today. So yeah, enjoy.
The mega corporations wage war on our shores. Their fighting can be our fortune.
All right, so this is meant to give you a preview of what the world will look like when Season 3 launches and when Faction Wars finally comes to the Indian Ocean. So Gabriel, I know we've said a lot during our last stream already, and we've been talking about faction wars in details. But do you want to give a high-level recap of how faction war will work in its first iteration?
Yeah. So I think for us, our vision for faction wars still pretty much remains the same. This is our idea of bringing a new community-driven end game experience to the game. So for players, they'll start out the season by picking a side as a privateer to fight for control over the Indian Ocean to help their chosen side of the fight for control in the Indian Ocean. So once you've done that between the DMC and company, there will be contested territories throughout the Indian Ocean. These will be randomly picked throughout the season, and then from there, each players will then go to each of these contested territories, earn war assets by participating in various activities. There will be both PvE and PvP type activities that will help you earn war assets, which include some epic ones like heists as well as defense ones. So from there, as players work towards earning war assets, they will contribute these war assets to the contested territories based on their chosen faction. And by the end of a battle period, which lasts for 2 weeks each time, the winning faction, basically the faction with the most war assets in each of these contested territories, will win the territory. And so there will be several battle periods throughout the faction war, and as each faction wins these territories, by the end of the war, the faction with the most won territories will basically win the war and get some sweet loot.
Very cool. So there's going to be a lot of questions for sure. We'll go into that a little bit later. But before we jump into questions, do you want to talk a bit about how do we see the evolution of faction war? Like, obviously, this is the first iteration, but what do we have in mind as potential evolutions of it for the future?
Yeah, so we definitely see this as the start of faction wars. There's huge potential for which it can continue to grow. We've definitely heard the feedback about can there be more PvP type events in the open world for faction wars. This is something we're actively exploring, and this is feedback you've given us. We're looking at straight up more activities that you can participate in to really add more variety to how you can engage with the faction wars. Additionally, we're also looking at how the state of the world based on the faction wars can impact things like your Helm Empire, how it affects your manufactories, the ability to produce certain things. These are definitely ways that we want to make sure that, your choices in the faction you take will affect how you play and actually progress in the game. We're even looking at things like in the future, can we expand it to things like a three-way war, even between an additional faction?
Additional faction.
Yeah.
Are you allowed to say more about additional faction as in like existing faction, completely new faction?
Yeah, I mean, definitely existing factions are on the table, but I would definitely not rule out new factions as well.
Okay, I think the key message here is obviously the reason we took a bit more time was to make sure the foundation for factionals was solid for us to build upon. But then obviously based on community feedback, that will be the direction we take. If the community wants more PvP, we'll work on more PvP. If they want more factions, we'll add more factions. If they want new type of activities, better rewards, different systems.
Exactly, because since it's a community-driven end game mode, as you drive the outcome of the war, I think we're also going to listen very much to your feedback on how you'll decide the future of how faction wars evolve.
Cool. Yeah, so PvP, for example, is a very good topic, right? We know a part of the player base is very keen on getting open world PvP and more PvP activities in general. But we also know a lot of the players prefer to engage in PvE. So how do we make sure we give what the PvP players want without impacting PvE players too much? Nobody wants to be forced into an activity they don't really enjoy, right? Absolutely.
So I think the key word here is options. Providing players with options is always a good thing because, as you said, we don't want to be forcing players into one mode over the other. We want to make sure that both options has sufficient opportunities for players who prefer each of these types to engage meaningfully with the feature. So, we're really in our first iteration of Faction War, and I think this will help inform us on what types of activities that you like to engage with, and this will then drive our decisions into, say, including more PvP features, game modes, for example, in the Faction War, and how it affects the overall war outcome.
Cool, very cool. So yeah, obviously with the information we're sharing today, it's going to be very interesting for us to read your comments on Reddit, on Discord, or through the chat. And obviously it's going to be very interesting for us as well to see how your reaction when Faction War releases in Season 3. So please keep the feedback coming. Let us know where you think Faction War could evolve or could go in the future. It'd be very helpful for us to know what you want and how to evolve that feature. A question we had a lot in the last couple of weeks since the last stream is, are we allowed to switch sides back and forth in the Faction War?
Great question. So I think as we thought about it, for those who actually had the chance to play it in one of our test programs, we did actually offer the ability to switch sides. But I think from what we gathered from the test, we saw that it was not as valuable as we thought, and in fact, like, players like to be able to commit to a side they've chosen. In a way, it's, if you think about the privateer fantasy, it's like, I've signed a contract with one of these factions, therefore I'm going to help you till you achieve your goal before our allegiances can be re-questioned in that sense. So I think we really wanted to do that and make the experience clearer. That being said, we've heard the feedback that there is a desire to say, can I operate as a pure agent of chaos, a pirate? I think we've definitely heard it, and this is definitely something that we're evaluating and investigating on how we can bring that in a future evolution of the Faction War.
Cool, very cool. There's also a lot of questions about rewards. Can you tell us a little bit more about, like, what are the rewards that people can expect from participating in Faction War? How do the rewards work?
Yeah, so I think with regards to rewards, we totally understand that committing to one side is going to be a big decision because it very much determines the kind of rewards that you might get. And so we've thought about how we can make sure that we kind of balance, like, FOMO, but also making sure that there is in fact a clear advantage in going with the winning side, or the side that you think will win. So we want to reward your effort much more in the Faction War. So as long as you engage in the battle periods and contribute war assets to your chosen side, you will continue to win rewards throughout the season. And if you help your chosen faction win the war, you'll get something on top of that. And right now, we're offering, like, custom vanities, cosmetics, based on the chosen faction if they win the war.
Cool. So basically, in the first iteration, you pick a side, you fight for your side. Hopefully, you win, you get the rewards. If you lose, the next season you can potentially pick the other side.
Exactly. So, it's kind of like placing your bets, right?
Okay.
And I think it's very interesting to see that based on the dynamics of the war, how do players kind of self-organize to say, like, we've got to step up our effort to really, like, seize the victory for the coming battle period or subsequent ones. Kind of, we've seen ways that bluffs can be called in things where in towards the end, you'd kind of do a rush towards, like, just doing an overtaking of contested territory.
Okay, and I think you said it earlier, but because I see a lot of comments about that on the chat, the option to switch sides during the war is something that we looked into in the past. Decided not to implement for now, but potentially we could bring it back in the future. Right?
Absolutely. So it's definitely not off the table. We just know that in our existing iteration of the Faction War, it's probably not giving us the experience that we want out of the ability to switch sides, but we do believe that choice is important to you as a player. So, like, how can but we want to make sure that there is more depth to that choice, as opposed to simply saying, oh, that faction's winning, and then simply jump over to it, and basically everyone abandons the losing side. So there's definitely a lot more design and thought that needs to go into it to make sure that how does supporting the trailing faction still provide me a way to win the war, or provide some sort of benefits. Like these are definitely questions we're asking ourselves. So it's definitely still a consideration for a future iteration of the faction war.
Cool, great. So basically, yeah, we really want to know what the community wants to see in the future for faction wars. PvP territories, PvP activities, more PvE activities, different rewards, different features, possibility to switch side. Everything is basically on the table at this point. And your feedback will really help us to drive the feature moving forward in Season 4, in Season 5, and all of Year 3, basically. There was also a question about how, so it's kind of answering that question, I guess, but how do we want to keep faction wars entertaining and constantly repeatable as a feature, like throughout the seasons?
So considering faction wars is something that's new to us and community driven, I think there is something definitely interesting. Like there is a new layer of dynamics that we can bring to the table, and the first step is definitely like how the territories are captured in each battle period, and we see this as a baseline, and how we can evolve and say what more community driven elements can we inject into the faction war to really drive that idea of stakes and its impact on the world. So we hope that to keep it entertaining for the long run, how these shifting tides will effectively shape the outcomes of war. Are we considering things that, say, a random event kind of showing up that maybe changes the course of war? These can change the way you might make decisions or play, and this might tie in with what we talked about with regards to be able to switch sides at some point in the future of the faction war.
Great. We also want to talk a bit about other content that's coming in Season 3 before we jump into answering all the questions. I know there's already a lot of questions on the chat. There's a lot of questions on Discord, a lot of questions on Reddit. But first, let's talk about the rest of the content that's coming in Season 3. So the first thing, and there's a lot of comments about it already, is the Sloop of War. Do you want to tell us more about the Sloop of War?
Yes. So as with our past seasons, we've introduced a new ship every season, and this season we're introducing a new ship, a DPS-1 that's focused on poison damage. So it's a medium-sized ship, and it includes 2 perks, pretty special perks that rhyme, Blight and Spite. So these are, in fact, used to enhance and really double down on poison status effects. So poison damage that you deal will continue to inflict more damage as the stacks go on. But in addition to that, the perk will allow that poison damage to also spread beyond. So if you've played kind of the Soundbook, this is effectively almost a similar sort of effect where poison can build up and then spread to nearby targets. So it's going to be a pretty fun one to see. Like as we were designing this, I kept worrying about the famous incident from World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm. I have a trick question on Super War, but before we do that, I have to fix the fact that I messed up with the flow a little bit. We have a quick video to show about Season 3, so we'll play the video and we'll get back to the Super War right after that.
All right.
Whatever it takes. Still, at least we have a name. A name, a face, a target.
From outcast a kingpin was born upon the sea. Ne'er was meant to walk the land, a pirate's life for me. Avast you winding up the sails, don't speak to mutiny. Find yourself a wanton quarter, bottom of the sea. Yo ho, the seas forever roll. Yo ho, the winds forever blow. Long after I met Davy Jones, still I'm not but skull and bones. Yo ho.
I thought you were gonna be singing, Gabe.
No, I was waiting for you to
Oh,
give
my
the
bad.
cue, you know.
My bad, sorry. So back to the Super War. I have a trick question for you.
Hit me.
Can you tell the chat how many gun ports it has?
Oh, well, we have heard some of you say like, oh, the gun ports seem inaccurate, and I think happy to say that we have addressed that feedback, and you will indeed get gun port additions that's accurate to the Sloop of War.
Yes. So basically, the concept arts you've seen or the gameplay footage you've seen is still work in progress footage. So
Yep.
we are reviewing the number of gun ports. So yeah, I expect more information about that in the near future. Next on the list, do you want to talk a little bit about the new antagonist that's coming in season 3?
Yes. So, as Alexi told me, some of our more eagle-eyed players have already discovered the identity and name of our new antagonist. That being said, I will still keep it a secret, and I think for those who've been keeping up with the narrative of the game, you've probably held on to a certain insignia, and I think you will find out a little bit more about where it leads to in season 3.
Cool. So you don't want to confirm the name?
Well, I mean, it's like I can say it rhymes with arrow.
Okay. Sparrow.
Yeah, maybe, you know. Jack's. Oh no.
All right. Obviously, new season, new ship, new antagonist, new features, but also new weapons and armor variants. Do you want to talk about it a little bit? What is the theme of the season?
So, building upon the new ship that we're introducing for season 3, a lot of the new weapons are indeed focusing on poison damage. So, these include a new C5 variant that spews poison. So you can see this, and we wanted to create this effect of like spreading a plague with this new weapon. In addition, there would be new poison-based torpedoes as well. These are very deadly when used correctly. I've seen it in action, and definitely don't want to get hit by one of those.
Cool. Very cool. So yeah, you can see some cool concept arts and screenshots already. And obviously, we'll share more information about all the new weapons as we get closer to the release. So we don't want to spoil too much. This is more like a high-level overview of what's coming and confirmation of what we shared already in the ledger. We also have a couple of new time-limited events coming in season 3.
Well, for those who were with us in year 1, you probably would have experienced 2 of these, but this time we're giving them a little spin and twist for this run. So look forward to the Requiem of the Lost, the one coming in Halloween, as well as the rerun, but a new twist of the Asia Solstice coming closer to winter.
Very cool. And last but not least, in terms of like major content, we also have not completely, but an upgraded and new version of La Peste.
Yes, season 3 is all things poison. So with that, we are in fact bringing Mythic La Peste into the fold. So just as you have new poison weapons, so does he, and he's gonna really lay it on thick.
Very cool, very cool. So new challenge coming from all of you.
Yes.
I assume most of the people who are watching us today have encountered La Peste in the past, but this is a new version. Can you tell us what is the main difference between a normal version of La Peste and this new version?
So I think for those who've engaged with La Peste since year 1, season 1, well, it's been a while, you'll see that a lot of its emphasis was on poison mortar, and this time we wanted to make sure that he would be even more deadly up close, and so he has new moves where he would be ramming and then basically piling on that new poison sea fire weapon on you if he manages to close the distance. So definitely look out for this new move when you fight Mythic La Peste.
Very exciting. So there's also obviously these are the main content. So the reason we're sharing so much information with you all today is obviously because we've announced about a month ago with the last letter and the last stream that we are reviewing our roadmap for the rest of the year. So these are the main content features that are coming with season 3. We're obviously adding a lot of quality of life updates to all of this, mostly in response to community requests and community feedback. The main one, which I think a lot of people have noticed from the letter that we published yesterday, it's called Ascension Locking. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and how it works and how does it answer community feedback?
Yeah, so we introduced Item Ascension in Year 2 Season 1, and it's great that a lot of you are enjoying what it brings to the game. And we've also heard the feedback about, the randomness of the rolls you can get out of both the perk itself as well as the stat that you get out of the perk. And so we know that there are gonna be perks that you like, and so Ascension Locking is essentially the answer to that. You'll be able to pin the chosen perk that you've already acquired and be able to simply re-roll the stats, so you can effectively work towards that god roll stat for that chosen perk without losing the perk that you want.
Very cool. And I believe it's also coming with an increase in the number of reroll attempts you can do, right?
Absolutely. So we're bumping up the number of reforge attempts from the current 60 to 75. So hopefully this will give you a lot more opportunity to get the weapon in the place that you really want. That being said, we're definitely looking beyond all what we've done for item ascension in terms of the ascension locking, but we're seeing ways that your feedback on saying, what if I run out of reforge attempts? Can I still find ways to preserve or keep the weapon in a way that still is useful to me? This is definitely feedback that we hear loud and clear, and we want to be able to address it in a future update.
Very cool. Sorry, I was checking other comments, but we also have so we saw, because we announced this improved feature for Armor Ascension. Sorry, I just spoiled it, but basically Armor Ascension is coming, right?
Oh, well, yes. And an item ascension, of course, will come with Armor Ascension in Season 3. So as you have found new ways to deal damage, we also want you to be able to find new ways to mitigate them. So Armor Ascension is the solution to that. Again, as with our original release of Item Ascension, it's not the end. We will definitely continue to look at how we can deepen and expand upon Armor Ascension.
Yes. So essentially, I was mostly trying to do a nice segue into some of the comments I read on Reddit since yesterday, because we know obviously there's a lot of concerns from the community about the amount of RNG involved in Item Ascension, about the fact that Item Ascension in general is also a big strain on warehouse space. So these are all things we know that are creating frustration for the community. Like when you're playing a lot, these are little things, but over the time they accumulate and become quite frustrating. So can you tell us, like, are we doing anything more to alleviate those issues in the future?
Yeah, so we are definitely looking at it holistically. The type of materials that go into what you need for Ascension itself, as well as what you get out of salvaging equipment. So we're trying to streamline some of these aspects to reduce the variety of things, so that it's really focused on the core materials, things that are a key part of the progression. As well as that, we've effectively doubled cargo space for all ships.
Mm-hmm.
So this way, you spend more time out at sea. You can loot much more items before going back on land, and doing a little bit of the salvaging work or ascending whenever you're back in one of the dens.
Yes. In general, I think I can quite confidently say that the team is also looking at many quality of life improvements. So they might not be coming in Season 3, but later on. But the inventory space issue is a big thing. So we're looking at options, for example, to help with auto-salvaging, auto-transferring, optimizing warehouse space. These are all options that we're looking and playing with, prototyping. They're not quite ready for us to implement, but rest assured that the team is very aware of like how tedious it can be to manage your warehouse when you have a lot of different weapons with different ascension and stuff. So we know armor ascension. With armor ascension coming, this might make things a little bit worse for a while. But we're also working on alleviating all this.
Exactly.
Very cool. The other thing that's coming, which I think is pretty cool, is there's improvements to sailing, like and navigation. And this is something we want to try to do with every season, right? Adding a little bit more depth to our sailing and navigation system in general. Can you tell us a little bit more what's coming in season 3 specifically?
So with regards to the sailing experience, I think uh, something we've added in season 2 are the wind gusts, and these are the ways that we wanted to give you small pockets of boosters as you travel through the Indian Ocean to get that boost of speed as you look for these wind gusts. Something we're then introducing in season 3 are the water spouts. These are really awesome shows of nature in the Indian Ocean during stormy weather, and as much as they present a danger if you get caught in them, we also wanted to bring a little bit of skill element into it. So because of the high wind speeds around it, the idea is that if you manage to kind of hug the edges of the water spout, you'll be able to take advantage of this boost of speed as well to effectively slingshot you around, or even use it in combat to lure enemies into its heart and for it to take damage from it. So it'll be interesting to see how players deal with this new obstacle as they sail the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, I can tell it's a very exciting feature. So I'll wait to see how players
I
respond
mean,
to it.
happy to hear your feedback. I mean, it's definitely something that both introduces a boon and a bane, as opposed to the wind gust we introduced in season 2.
Great. I know there's also other I want to call them quality of life improvements, but they're not really quality of life. They're like general improvements to the game and the progression. So can you tell us a little bit about domains, for example? What are domains and what are they supposed to fix in the game?
Yeah, I think domains is really an expansion of an idea that we've seen a lot of success in, more specifically from our time limited events. So for those who've been engaging with them, you'll see that we've kind of shifted to a model where there are now event buoys that you use flares to summon. And so we're taking this design and bringing it to the majority of our world events. So these would affect the sea lords, the sea monsters, and effectively give you more control on how you want to engage with these world events and take them on, as opposed to, say, realizing you only have 4 minutes left before the event ends. So this gives you a lot more control. You determine the pace you want to engage with the game. And I think on top of that, this was also a way for us to solve one of the issues that players have been saying. It's like, oh, events are overlapping, and I can never kind of predict when things are going to happen. So having the domains would effectively allow players to determine when they want to engage with these world event targets as well. So how exactly do domains work? As opposed to simply waiting for a timer, domains have their minions, their ships that roam around these areas of the Indian Ocean. So as you destroy these, they will drop the equivalent of the flares that you can accumulate and eventually use to summon these bosses that you can engage with.
Cool. And I think that also solves an issue for us, but also for players when too many events are overlapping with each other, right?
Exactly. So I believe this is one step that we're taking to help address that issue, and we're still doing active work on making sure that the experience on the Indian Ocean has a nice balance of surprise as well as also predictability.
Cool. And how many flares are needed to summon blocks of cheese? It's not from me, it's from the chat.
Cheese?
Yes.
With flares?
Yes.
Oh, I think we're
Think
gonna.
about it. You can tell us on the next stream. We also have a lot of improvements to the UI and to the map in particular. So do you want to tell us a bit more about what's changing on the map?
With regards to map improvements, I think we're we're listening to feedback and slowly iterating on its overall visual quality. So as you might have noticed, we've kind of lightened the colors of the sea, given a little bit more dynamism, making the map feel little bit more alive. And this is really our effort in modernizing our interface to give it a breath of fresh air, to make the world feel alive both in the interface as well as the world. In addition to that, I know a lot of you have given feedback about the lack of colors on some of the events, and we've definitely heard it. We are actively investigating the issue to bring back this so you can easily identify the events, whether it's PvP, solo, co-op, that you can easily jump into and yeah, have fun.
Yeah, so just to clarify on this specific issue, it is not an intended change. We didn't purposely change all the icons to white. It wasn't intended. It's a bug that we need to kind of figure out and fix, and it's not as easy as it looks. Even though it looks like we just switch colors, but it's not that easy.
Well, yes, the change certainly came together with the overall UI overhaul, and some of these systems require a backend conversion to make sure that we have a base, effectively a white base to work off of, and then this is where we start to be able to differentiate them. And we wanted to, one of the key things that we want to address is to take the rainbow from year one and give it clearer visual identities as we evolve the UI.
Great. One last topic to talk about for season 3 before we jump. There's a ton of questions on the chat that we need to answer. So sorry for everybody who's been asking questions. We haven't gotten to the point where we can answer all questions yet, but that's coming very soon. One more thing maybe you want to talk about is the improved seasonal hub and the seasonal journey in general. Do you want to talk about this a little bit?
Yep. So so to kind of give a quick summary, the seasonal hub is effectively our new landing space for all things seasonal. So this comes in very nicely with the introduction of the faction wars, because the faction wars is something that will last the entire season, and the seasonal hub is really the place where you can see the overview of all the things that will come throughout the season. So things like the seasonal calendar will now be housed under this. Your smuggler pass progression can be tracked also from the seasonal hub. You'll be able to see which time limited events are going to show up throughout the season, and yeah, basically, hopefully it'll be much easier to find the information that you need to engage with it. And I think really on top of all these things where we help with the exposition of the game, the real new addition here is a seasonal journey. So the seasonal journey is kind of a new thing that we want to add to the game that helps kind of guide your decision on how you engage with the activities throughout the season. So this will tie in with things like the seasonal quests, as well as some of the new activities we're introducing. And you will be rewarded with the ability to gain passive buffs that will last you for the season itself, and they will reset once the season is over. So that way you are effectively working to becoming a stronger and more powerful pirate as you play throughout the season.
Very cool. So all these are the information we're giving you right now is just a preview of all the things that are coming in season 3. We'll talk about it more in details, give you a better visualization of how this all looks. But essentially, to resume, we're adding some foundation for faction wars. We're adding obviously the sloop of war, which we think is a really cool new ship, and we can't wait for people to get their hands on it and get to play it. New poison weapon, but also a ton of quality of life improvements and general improvements for the game to make it just easier to handle both for new players and existing players. And we are continuously looking at these improvements based on community feedback. So warehouse space, we know it's an ongoing issue. We are working on it. Item ascension, RNG, we are implementing some changes, but we'll continue to look at the feedback from the community to make sure that it is something that requires time and effort, but doesn't cause too much frustration when you're not getting the roll you want on that specific weapon that maybe you don't have in huge quantities, right? So yeah, keep an eye out for more information to come on season 3 and all the things we are continuously working on to add to the game in future seasons. Now, the best part of the live stream is answering the ton of questions that we have from everybody. I feel like we should address the main question that many people have since we announced that the roadmap for the rest of the year was going to be changed. And that's coming up in the chat a lot. It's coming up on Reddit. People are asking, what about land combat? Can we talk about what's going on with land combat?
Yeah, so as we kind of talked about in the previous live stream, our year two roadmap has definitely evolved based on what we've seen and also our refocus in quality. And so, as you can see, what was originally in season 2, which was the faction wars, is now in season 3, and we believe that faction wars offers a lot that we can build upon. So with regards to land combat itself, the team definitely put in a lot of effort, and there was a lot of promise that we see in it, but we really needed to focus that effort, and we wanted to make sure that we delivered faction wars first. We definitely see value in land combat. It is currently on hold, but we're not saying that it is entirely off the table, and this is going to be very much dependent on how the faction wars evolve, and perhaps maybe there is an opportune time that we can re-explore land combat.
Yes, I think to add to this, essentially, one thing that was clear from us from the very beginning with Skull and Bones is that we wanted to focus on naval combat first and foremost always. So we're very happy with all the content addition we've done in year 1 and the first half of year 2. And we believe Faction Wars has the potential to bring a whole new level of engagement for the community, something that is really driven by the community. You essentially, for the first time in Skull and Bones, you'll be able to compete against each other by joining factions and not just through PvP activities. So that's why we thought it was very important for us to focus 100% on Faction Wars, making sure we get in the right direction. And for that, we've decided to put a hold on the development of features like land combat and officers for now.
Yep. I mean, I understand that it's probably disappointing news to some of you, but I think it was definitely a feature that we were very excited to build and hyped about, and so I think there is still interest in it, both seeing the chat now and as well as from us on the developer end. So I think we will be more than happy to share updates the moment we have them.
Yes, and the same logic applies to pretty much everything we do, right? We didn't want to release half-baked faction wars and half-baked land gameplay. So we thought, okay, we focus on faction wars first, make sure faction wars works. In the future, if we see an opportunity to bring land gameplay back and we are happy with the quality of it, then it will happen. But for now, it's not the priority, basically. Other questions. So we have a lot of questions about... Sorry, I need to scroll back a bit. Map extension.
The eternal question.
Yes.
So map expansion. It's definitely one of those questions that we were asking ourselves, and I think, as with a lot of the features that we want to bring, we want to make sure the expansion is a meaningful one. And so these would bring into question, like, are there going to be new dens? Are there going to be new factions? Will the new regions bring a different sort of gameplay or flavor? These are all things we consider when talking about map expansion, and of course the stories that do come with that region of the world. So this is something that the team has explored, and we're still interested in it. It is currently not planned for the near term, but it's definitely something that is actively being investigated.
Cool. I saw a lot of comments about the Corvette because we teased the Corvette yesterday in our letter from the producer. Are you in a position to say anything about the Corvette?
The Corvette.
Do you know what type of ship it's planned to be?
So from what I have seen from the team, the Corvette should be coming in season 4, actually. So that would make it our second large ship, which I think will keep our lonely frigate a little bit more companionship in that regard. So what is it meant to be built for? Currently, it's meant to be sort of a support DPS hybrid, and the idea is that it's going to be built for a challenge that we think will require its use. And for those who've been paying attention to what we've announced so far, you might get a little sense of what it might be.
Great, and just as a full disclaimer, because I've seen some comments asking about this, like you said, Corvette is planned for season 4, so it's still quite far ahead. We're still working on it, so whether it is a DPS ship or a tank or whatever, these are all things that we are potentially exploring. So anything can still change.
Absolutely.
But obviously, we'll share more information as we get closer. If you want to get an early idea and share your feedback about how the Corvette plays, the best way to do that is play the game a lot, join the insider program, and share your feedback. So yeah. There's also questions about a Kraken. Or a comment about a Kraken. I don't know if it's a question or a comment.
I might have dropped a small hint on that.
You have. What have you said?
I just did this.
Oh. Well, what happened? What about the Kraken?
The Kraken. So I think if you looked at the year 2 trailer, it might have teased something like it, and I can say that the team is definitely hard at work making the Kraken work, and we've currently are very much into the weeds to make sure that is an awesome experience, a sea monster fight that is on a completely different scale than what you've seen before, and we think that the point we introduce it will match with the introduction of the large ships. So again, these are tentative plans that we're working towards in S4, and we definitely hope to be able to bring them together.
Yes, and like everything we do, quality is our number one priority, right? So we want to release the Kraken as early as possible, but we want to make sure it is a significant and enjoyable experience for everybody. So we'll make sure it's as good as it can be before we release it.
Yep.
I am going to move over to Reddit and Discord, because we know we have a lot of questions there as well. Just give me a second. I was told we should look at the questions asked by Death Wish. Need to find them. Let me give you another one first.
What do you have? But in the meantime, Sid is engaging with the weeping mother.
Oh yeah, we forgot to check on Siddharth.
Yeah.
Are you still alive, Siddharth? No, he's dead.
Well, technically, he is kind of fighting the dead.
Yes, there was actually some interesting questions and feedback about that event on Reddit, so maybe we can go into that a little bit later. First question, and I think it's an important thing we should mention as well, regarding guild marks. So first of all, a reminder, when we announced Season 2 and we introduced guild marks, we communicated to everybody that guild marks is a new seasonal currency that is going to stay. So it's the same seasonal currency every season. We're not going to introduce new currencies anymore. However, at the end of each season, there is going to be a reset of currency. So that means the guild marks you're accumulating throughout the season will be taken away at the end of the season. I believe there are plans for you to convert your guild marks before the season ends, so you won't be losing everything. You'll be able to trade them. I'm not sure what the plan is exactly. We need to double check on that, but maybe you know a bit more than me.
Yeah, so I think the intention is definitely that throughout the season, as you've earned the guild marks from all the different activities, including the time limited event going on right now, you'll be able to use them to acquire equipment that you might have missed from the previous season from the smuggler Blackwood store, as well as using any access that you can into currency as well.
Great. We also talked in the past about balancing changes. We did a big balancing patch at the beginning of year 2. Are there more balancing changes coming? Are we still working on it? Are we buffing, nerfing things? Do you know anything about that?
So I think we're always in a situation where balance is part of the conversation. You know, every time, especially looking at how we've released our season, every new ship, every new weapon that gets added into fold means that we have to relook at all the past ships and weapons and kind of balance to make sure that um, every build is viable in combat. So this applies both in PvE, but also in Death Tides.
Yes, and that's the important thing here. Since I think since season one, since the last big balancing patch, basically, we made sure that moving forward, the balancing changes will apply either on the PvE side or the PvP side separately, right?
Exactly. So we want to make sure that the PvE experience is still very much fair. It's the experience you um, know and love that doesn't make it too unfair, and we will have separate balancing purely for Death Tides itself.
Yes. And yeah, so the key thing I think for balancing in general is that we are always like kind of looking for feedback from the community to identify what are the main things that the community wants us to look at and either buff or nerf. So if you have any specific items you want us to look at, I know some people mention overflow, for example, and we have a lot of feedback from the past as well that we can dig into. We are planning on next balancing patch, so feel free to raise any feedback you have with us in the chat or on Reddit or on Discord. There's another question I think which requires a bit of clarification because I think it's based on things we discussed last time on the stream. Some people are asking about added sales to the frigate. So as far as I know, we're not planning to add sales to the frigate anytime soon, but we are working on something for the frigate.
Yeah, so I believe definitely we've heard the feedback about getting the nice flowy ribbons, or otherwise known as the pennants, and I think this is something that was part of the plan. I know the desire because I've seen a lot of players use the example of the Hubek twins frigate, which has the extra ones on the sides. This is something that our team has investigated, and I think you know it definitely looks amazing, but we still want to make sure that any changes we do doesn't impact gameplay.
Yes. Do we know when they're coming? I thought it was planned for season 3, but maybe it's later.
Maybe something we can check, but
Okay,
I know it's soon.
We'll confirm when exactly very soon, but pennants are coming. Going through the questions. So land combat system we answered already. Ascension system, something we continuously look at to improve. So we know some people are not sure that the increase by 15 and the possibility to lock a modification is going to be enough to solve the RNG involved in item ascension, but that's something we can continue to look at in the future. Yes, there's also feedback about changes to the smuggler pass. So for context, once again, year 2, season 2, we introduced a new progression system from the smuggler pass, which created a bit of negative reception from the community. So I just want to reiterate that we stated before the intention was not to intentionally slow down progression. And maybe you can tell us more about this. Like, what was the actual goal behind that new smuggler pass, the new progression for the smuggler pass?
So just to make things clear from the start is that the rate at which smuggler marks are earned is still intended to be similar to the past season. So you should not take more time. But what the main change that we really wanted to move towards is intentionality. So as opposed to the previous model, which was that infamy gain would translate to some extent into smuggler points, and these smuggler points would give you a smuggler mark for every 1,000. We wanted to make sure that activities were driving this instead. So it was less about saying killing this stray ship that you encountered in the open world, but being more intentional with engaging with the world events, completing contracts and quests, completing hostile takeovers. So all these small activities, including things like treasure hunt, would help gain you smuggler points in a much more intentional manner. And the idea is that with these points, you would be able to gain smuggler marks at the same rate. And the thing is, we've opened up more options as well. So in addition to the seasonal challenges that you could earn smuggler marks with, the weekly offers five types of challenges that you can engage with and easily earn smuggler marks from that. And as you can see from even the ongoing time limited event with the Dark Tide Lullaby, those also offer a whole set of opportunities to earn smuggler marks. So we really wanted to drive more gameplay towards intentionality and to make sure that you would be able to earn smuggler marks actually sometimes even more easily simply by engaging directly with these events as opposed to just kind of sailing around and killing random ships.
Great, thank you. We also know there's quite a lot of feedback on the recent time limited event. So on one hand, we had the Manic Moonshiner, who's I think was quite well received. People were enjoying it, and we also know that Dark Tide Lullaby, who just started I think last week, came with a bunch of little issues. So some of the feedback we read is like, why can't we just learn from the first event and make sure the next event is as good or even better than the previous one?
I wish development worked this way, but the truth is because these events are actually developed in advance, and so actually these were developed in parallel, and so this was in a way a little bit of an opportunity to like test certain aspects of one event, and really it's clear right now that how we've approached the Manic Moonshine is what you resonate with more than how we're doing the Dark Tide Lullaby. And you know, this is definitely critical feedback that we'll take into future time limit events and how we shape what the twist is to the gameplay and how we want to make sure that the way you earn rewards, for example, is also fair and engaging.
Yes. So I think the important thing is that obviously those two events are different events. They have different mechanics, and we are constantly looking at feedback and testing things out. So we will take what we think worked well from any of those events really, and we will work on all the things that did not work so well on any of these events, so that in the future we keep on iterating and improving those events. We hope that you can, for those of you who've been there since year one, you can see that from the very first time limited events we had in the game to those that we have today, there's already a bunch of improvements being made.
Yep.
And hopefully the events coming in season 3 with the I forgot the name of the Halloween event.
Requiem of the Lost.
And the Azure Solstice event. Hopefully some of you will remember how they were last year and see some improvements done there as well. Question for Death Tide. Do we have plans to adjust the Death Tide matchmaking queuing?
Yes, so I think we definitely acknowledge that the matchmaking is not where we want it to be. So we're looking at making some adjustments to how the rules are for matchmaking and hopefully get you into matches faster than it is now.
Yes, I think some of the changes we recently implemented with I think it was a preset only game mode.
Yep.
And there was another. We removed some of the game modes from the list as well.
So I think we wanted to kind of simplify the flow. You know, really get you into matches faster. And you know, the preset only mode is really our answer to those who say like, you know, we want a fair playing ground and where the ships are all on equal level as opposed to ships that you've brought from the Indian Ocean that may give a small advantage in Death Tides matches. And in addition to that, you know, we're definitely looking at more opportunities for 3v3 matches as well.
Yes. Completely different question. Somebody's asking on the chat about clans, dark zone, or custom lobby.
Oh, I mean, these are definitely great questions, and in fact, very relevant to faction wars because in our roadmap for faction wars, we definitely see features like clans, and you know how they work with regards to faction wars play a part. The dark zone, is there an opportunity for something of an Indian Ocean based place where PvP can be actively engaged in? while there is nothing concrete at the moment, these are definitely things that we are actively discussing on how we can incorporate them into the larger faction war evolution.
Yes. Another question I saw on Discord, I think it's kind of related to item ascension, warehouse space, is the possibility to have more blueprints available at all times in the vendors, I think mostly for weapons and stuff. So do you know if we're working on this, if it's something we're considering?
Are we talking about a rotative store?
Yes, I believe that's the question.
Ah, okay. So we've definitely heard the feedback about, when can I have access to some of these weapons that I miss? And, I think there is definitely interest on our end to make these generally more available, especially equipment that we've released from past seasons. We want to make them something that's more generally available in future seasons. We do still want to give a little bit of a special exclusivity to our time loaded events and really reward those who've joined us for these special moments, along with the special equipment and cosmetics that come with it.
Cool. Another question, and this is a bit of a difficult one to answer, I'm sorry, but hopefully you can give
all the difficult questions today.
Yes. Hopefully you can give a bit more context as to why it's not an easy problem to solve. So the question in general is, are we planning to add a higher level of difficulty in the game, like more challenging content in the future? For people who've been playing for a while, who have a variety of different loadouts, pretty much have a specific loadout for every type of encounter, know exactly how to fight against every encounter, and know how to basically defeat every boss in less than 2 minutes. I'm not gonna name anybody, but I am sure they recognize the description.
Definitely. So I think it's a great question, and it's a question that we constantly wrestle with because, we're dealing with an open world Indian Ocean. So we're gonna have a mix of players who are maybe not quite at that level, but we also have players who are at the apex of their progression in the game. So how can we offer something for each of these? So one of the first steps that we definitely took was with the introduction of world tiers, where we brought in a new level of challenge for players to engage with, where it really pushed players to achieve really high ship ranks, like an optimal loadout to deal with some of these threats. And it doesn't stop there. Have we had discussions on future additional world tiers? Absolutely. We look at things like for the mythic events, things that you do matchmaking into these sessions. Can we implement more rules that would demand more skill and really challenge you on that? Absolutely. And these are definitely things we want to make sure that satisfies the needs of our veteran players, as well as players who are still starting out, getting their feet wet with the game.
Yes. So it's not an easy answer. Like we also have to recognize that making content that is tailored for the super hardcore, super engaged players essentially means a lot of time and resources spent into something that only maybe 10% of our player base will really enjoy. So it's a balancing act, right?
Hey, but I mean, we love that 10%.
Yeah.
As they want a challenge, we want that challenge to make sure that they are finding ways to still enjoy the game.
Yes, I think, and I don't want to speak on behalf of the whole team here, but I think our vision is more like, how do we help everybody get the right tools to understand how to get better at the game, so that more people can enjoy a higher level of difficulty, and then keep raising the bar progressively, essentially. But yeah, hopefully we'll get there. I think we're running out of time, really. The chat is going very fast. There's a lot of discussion going on. I can't keep track of all the questions. Maybe one more. Can we have a loadout for your pirate? Are we working on anything like that?
Loadout for...
I'm assuming they mean cosmetics, but we have that in the game already, don't we?
Unless they meant pet loadouts.
I'm not sure. Loadout for your pirates. I'm not sure I understand the question. Anyways, if we haven't had the time to answer your question, please follow up with us on Reddit, on Discord. We'll be active throughout the day to read your comments, read what you thought about the stream today. And we'll probably come back very soon with another Devstream to answer more questions. So we're still pretty far from season 3. There's still time for us to adjust things based on your feedback. And obviously, we'll continue to listen to your feedback throughout the season and in preparation for season 4 and the year 3. There's still a lot of things that we're working on that we can't wait to share with you more information on. So
Yep.
keep the feedback coming.
Yeah,
Ask
absolutely.
us questions.
I mean, I'll just say that, on the developer end, we're definitely seeing a lot of your feedback on Reddit, on Discord, and these are things that influence our day-to-day decisions on certain things, and that really helps us. And so, please continue to keep sharing, and it's really in our interest to try our best to find ways to bring something to the game with and without necessarily disrupting the experience for everyone else. But so exactly that balance that we just talked about.
Yes.
Thank
you once again, Gabriel, for being there. Just as a quick recap, season 3 confirmed to be coming. I think, did we set a date?
Have we set the date?
21st of October, correct?
Sounds about right.
All right, if I'm wrong, I'm sorry, but I believe it's 21st of October. The key focus for season 3 is going to be Faction War. First iteration of Faction War that we want to continue to iterate upon and build upon with the feedback of the community. So let us know your thoughts about everything we shared today, about everything we shared in the letter from the producer. There'll be more information shared in a dedicated blog in the future. And help us basically make Faction War as engaging and as fun for everybody as possible. We also have a new ship, Super War, coming in season 3, and a whole lot of quality of life improvements and new content coming for you. So again, all the content, or at least the high level version, is on the letter from the producer. Please have a look if you haven't looked at it already. Otherwise, the VOD of this stream will be uploaded later, and we'll continue to share more information with everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Gabriel. Which side are you picking on the Faction War again?
I think the choice is clear.
Okay. So Gabriel is probably going to lose the first Faction War, but that's okay.
No, I think we have a good chance.
We are taking bets, French or Dutch, for the first season of the Faction War. Let us know who you think is going to win. All right, thank you again, everybody. Thank you, Siddharth in the back. Sorry we didn't interact much with you today. We had a lot of things to answer from the chat. Next time we'll make sure to have more focus on what you're doing. I hope you didn't die this time, did you? No death. All right. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you all next time. And keep the feedback coming. Bye-bye.